Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Gamers Podcast. I'm your host, Justin. With me, I have Lawrence.
Hello, everybody.
We have Ryden.
Heyo.
And we have Michelle. How you doing?
Hey.
Today we were talking in I guess our pre-show chat, and I really wanted to do a Pokemon show today because XY came out. I'm seeing a lot of hype for it, and it's kind of made me dust off my old copy of Heart Gold, and I got all nostalgic. So, because this is our podcast, we can do what we want. We're gonna talk about Pokemon all day. Well, not all day. There's one thing we wanted to talk about before, but then the rest of the show is gonna be Pokemon. So you've been warned. If you already OD'd on Pokemon, or if you're just tired of seeing it, this isn't the show for you. But if you want to geek out with us about Pokemon some more, please feel free to stick around, pull up a chair, because this is gonna be good.
Right. And if you happen to not like Pokemon, then what is the matter with you as a human being?
See, I think that's the thing. There's two types of people in the world: people that like Pokemon and people that don't admit that they like Pokemon. Because at some point, everyone has sat there and looked at whether it's Charmander or Pikachu or Dragonite, and you just said, you know what? Yes, I want that.
Yeah, there was always that one moment where you eventually admitted to it.
Oh man, that was the beginning of me embracing admitting my hobbies in front of other people. Because what's the worst they can do? Say they don't like it, and it's like, okay, cool, let's go have lunch. So, it's kind of been my philosophy with things like this. I say I like it. If you don't like it, all right, that's cool. Let's talk about stuff you do like.
Pretty much the way to be.
But no, literally right before we started recording, Lawrence showed me the new 2K trailer, which I completely forgot came out today. The NBA 2K14 trailer for next gen, and it looked incredible. Like, it looked movie level CGI incredible. Like, just the realism and the detail. They showed James Harden's beard, and if you don't know, James Harden is a shooting guard for the Houston Rockets. He has a pretty epic beard. Like, it's up there with Zhao from Exiliia. He doesn't have the two strands going on, but it's a pretty hefty man beard. And the detail in the beard, you can see like the birds popping out of it as they build their nests in there. And they showed LeBron James, they actually have his struggle hairline. If you've ever seen a picture of LeBron James without the headband, you know that he's hairline challenged. Like, his hairline starts at maybe the middle of the top of his scalp. And they finally got that right. Like, it's attention to details like that are just, it looks incredible for next gen. Like, I was not expecting this level of detail this early in the next generation. I can only imagine as we get more used to the technology, as we get more comfortable with developing on these new systems, how it's going to look.
Yeah, I mean, this is all going to be early next-gen stuff. This is launch, I believe, for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. This is going to be a launch title. And for them to already get that level of detailing down for the next-gen at such an early cycle for the next-gen, these early launch titles, it's looking amazing right now. It looks like the way the developers were talking about the PlayStation 4 earlier, that it's so much easier to develop than the PS3. It looks like it's holding up because this level of detail is just a complete, leap from the end of the current gen cycle.
The one thing that you can do is you can just take a picture of 2K14 for PS3 and put it right next to a picture of 2K14 for PS4, and there is a notable difference in the level of detail and the resolution and the definition. It's a marked difference.
Right, and you see that type of marked difference in even things like Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zero. When they showed the trailers for that, they had screenshots on their website that showed the current gen and the next gen version, and the current gen version had what's called jaggies, little edges around the characters, things like that. There's no anti-aliasing, stuff like that. But the next gen version was smooth, it was clean. Runs at 60 frames a second. The current gen version runs at 30 frames a second, even with those graphical hitches. we already hit a point where next gen is leaping over current gen.
Right.
And we're only at the launch of next gen next month. So it's only a sign of things to come if they can improve on the technology as they keep going forward with this generation.
Exactly. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be an amazing ride. On the other side of the next gen spectrum, a gameplay demo for Kingdom Hearts 3 came out. And while it doesn't look as impressive from a graphic standpoint as 2K14, the things that they were doing in that gameplay demo, there was a lot going on in that minute that, as someone that's been with Kingdom Hearts since Kingdom Hearts 1, I got excited for. The chaining of the spells, which is, it actually looks like they chain together like combos now. It's not just spell, spell, spell. It's spell, okay, here's variation of this one, and then there's a moment where he's just doing his basic fire spells, and he pulls out guns. Like, they look like guns. Or he pulls something out, and he has two of them in his hands, and he's just lighting everything up around him. I was like, whoa, hold on, what's this? What's going on here?
Right. I noticed that in the trailer too. It looks like maybe like a Keyblade gun type of thing.
That's what it looked like. It looks like he's been hanging around Leon a little bit too much.
Or it's like Terra's attacks from Birth by Sleep were like that as well.
That's right.
Oh, okay.
I completely forgot about that.
I hadn't played through Birth by Sleep, so that one completely slipped by me.
It's so good.
Oh, don't worry, you'll get to see it because Terra's one of the secret bosses for Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix. You'll see it all right.
I've seen footage of that fight, and I'm not looking forward to it.
Have fun.
And while we're on this topic, we may as well just address the elephant in the room when it comes to Kingdom Hearts. And surprise, Kingdom Hearts HD 2.5 Remix was announced as well for current gen consoles.
On the one hand, I don't know, I'm just like, really? But then, as you guys pointed out, it is, a repackaging of not just Kingdom Hearts 2. It's two Final Mix. What else is in the package?
Birth by Sleep Final Mix,
Yes.
and it's the cutscenes for Recoded as well.
Yes.
So, it's everything between 1.5 and 2.5, that's everything you need to get caught up on the story of Kingdom Hearts.
Basically, the only thing that's missing is the bridge between 2 and 3, and that's Dream Drop Distance.
Right.
But Dream Drop Distance is such a recent release that they probably weren't going to re-release it regardless.
Right.
So you pretty much you need a PS3 and a 3DS still to get the entire Kingdom Hearts story.
Unless of course they do give it that time and then hit the release after 2.5, because in Japan they're still doing the PS3 stuff.
I would not be surprised if we get a collector's edition.
They may be under a timed license with Nintendo.
Right. That's actually what I was about to say. I wouldn't be surprised if after a certain time we get the collector's edition of Kingdom Hearts 3 that has with it a re-release of Dream Drop Distance.
That would be pretty cool if they could pull that off. Maybe as like a PSN release.
Ooh, that would
like a voucher code that comes with Kingdom Hearts 3, and then they'll release on PSN separately. That would be pretty cool if they could pull that off.
Right.
Because I didn't expect 358 Days Over 2 even in cutscene form. And lo and behold, we got it in cutscene form at the very least. And they said that was only because they didn't have time.
Right.
So there's a chance we could get Dream Drop Distance in the future as an actual game release if they wanted to go that route.
I'm hoping for it. The other thing that, sort of switching back to the 3 gameplay trailer, I noticed you had the pirate, they show 3 clips. It's one clip, it's just Sora, Donald, Goofy fighting Heartless, showing off, the new fighting, or the new-ish fighting system. Then it's another clip, you see Sora on the pirate ship from Disneyland. and he's actually using it as a weapon. The pirate ship is spinning about. You can change the camera angles, and he's actually. It looks like it's a summon. So I don't know if these are new summons or if they're replacing the old summons, but it looks like you can actually summon rides, either at will or as part of the stage themselves. So that actually looked pretty interesting, and it looked pretty impressive the way they had it set up.
Right, the lighting effects on the ship looked amazing. Seeing it do the spin around in the air and then knocking all the Heartless into the sky.
Right.
You see all these glowing light fixtures on the ship, and it looks very cool in motion.
Exactly, and like we said before, it may not look as impressive as 2K14, but for the scope of what they're doing, it looks pretty good.
But it's a very different kind of game.
Right.
You know, you're not really scoping for that realism.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and then the final clip they showed, it's you versus the Rock Titan from Hercules, and you have a train, and I don't know if the train runs on a rail or if you're actually controlling the train, and you're attacking the Titan as you're riding around this light train on light rails, and that whole scene, just the size of the Titan, the detail of the train itself, it looks great.
Yeah. The light trail the light tracks that form underneath the train,
Right.
as the train keeps going around this giant monstrosity. It looks so nice to see all of that again in motion. It looks amazing.
Yeah, and again, I don't know if you have full control of the train or if it's on rails, because it didn't look like it was following the same path.
No, it seemed to it just seemed to be going wherever they wanted it to go, really.
Right. So I don't know if that's by design or if the player is actually controlling the train. So that'll be interesting to see. So, and another thing we have to keep in mind with Kingdom Hearts 3, there's going to be a lot going on within the game as well. They've already announced that there's going to be at least 10 worlds in the game, if I'm not mistaken.
Was that announced already?
Let me double check, because I know we were talking 10 worlds earlier, because Kingdom Hearts 2 had...
Kingdom Hearts 2 had Hollow Bastion, had World That Never Was, had Mulan's World, Beauty and the Beast, Lion King,
Aladdin again.
Had the Return for Aladdin, had
Halloween Town,
Halloween Town,
had the Underworld,
Twilight Town, Atlantica.
Yeah.
So that is 10.
So if going in the trend, there's going to be a lot going on in this game just from a scope perspective. And we don't even know how they're going to do the traveling between worlds, because in Kingdom Hearts 2 you had the gummy ship, which was fully customizable.
Right. And if that comes back, that's also going to be pretty interesting to see what else they're going to improve on with the gummy ship system. If that returns.
Right. I gotta say that was pretty much Legos, so I was having fun with that. So, in short, the next gen trailers that we have looked at, I briefly saw something for Infamous 2 Second Son. That looks actually pretty good.
Oh man, Infamous. Infamous Second Son looks fantastic right now.
Yes, it does. And, they're teasing everyone with, you can finally see what happened to Cole. And I'm like, while interesting, it really doesn't matter what happened to Cole. Because, spoiler alert, because Infamous 2 has been out for at least 2 years now, so I can say this, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
There's only 2 ways Infamous 2 ends. Either Cole sacrifices himself and cures whatever the sphere caused, or he takes it upon himself to essentially become the new beast and awaken everyone else that the sphere is altered. I forget what they call them in that universe. But if we see someone else with similar powers,
the conduits.
thank you, awaken other conduits. So I'm like, we see other people with similar powers. There's really only one way Infamous 2 could have ended.
Yes, but I think the main point of it is, how did the world change with the events of Infamous 2 happening? Because
True.
it's one thing to see the events of Infamous 2 and have the ending be what it was for either or, and now, since obviously if other conduits are being awakened, there's only one ending that could have happened. But how did we go from what happened in Numerai and Empire City and them being more accepting of what Cole was because he was a hero, to a few years down the line we're in Seattle and the world is so against conduits and trying to round them up again? You know, what happened between 2 and Second Son that caused that entirely different ideology shift?
Yeah, see, just talking about it out loud now, there's only one possible conclusion. Cole became the Beast, Cole went ham on the entire world, and they said, okay, look, this is never happening again.
But if Cole went Beast, then, because if I remember right, the ending of him where he becomes the Beast is pretty much a world where the conduits are just running amok.
Right. He's basically awakening new conduits.
Right, and he is, like you said, the Beast. So he's pretty much this entity that can, like you pretty much said, go ham on everything. How would that transfer to all of a sudden him disappearing from Numerai all of a sudden?
Maybe
because even if we go by that ending, there's a little bit of a gap that needs explaining.
Fair enough. So,
see, the problem with it taking that step to the next gen is the fact that you're not likely to be able to use your whatever ending you got from your save game at the end of your when you played it previously.
Also true.
You can't continue. You won't be able to continue it.
I think Infamous.
So if they've selected, if they've kind of decided, yeah, this is the true ending. Whoever did the other one, we'll just ignore that.
I think Infamous was always like that. They had one set story path, but they wanted you to explore both sides. So, like, for the events of Infamous 1 going to Infamous 2, Infamous 2 began the same way regardless of the path you chose.
Okay.
I think that's how it works for Infamous. They had one set story in mind. It's just that you're this, you're Cole. You're this pretty much, to put it in layman's terms, you're a thunder god for all intents and purposes, because of the abilities that were bestowed upon him as he became a conduit. He can absorb electricity, do all this, so it's your gameplay incentive to decide to be a hero or to be, as the term is, infamous. And that's pretty much just the gameplay aspect of it. Storyline-wise, it affected your game there, but it didn't affect the sequel.
Okay. That kind of sucks.
Kind of, but not. Because essentially your choice may not matter so much in the game, but it's the fact that they're presenting you with this choice that kind of makes for an interesting story to tell. Because the whole point of Infamous 1 is this Kessler character is trying to, through his own warped way of thinking, make you into a better hero, make you equipped to deal with loss.
Yeah.
Make you equipped to make the tough decisions. So you, as the player, have to decide, with no bearing on the story, which means there is no quote-unquote golden ending. It's just, how do you personally feel about it?
Right.
Right. It's all isolated, basically.
Right. Which I actually kind of like. I like the way Mass Effect handles it, where all of your decisions matter and they have consequences, and even when you think you're doing the right thing, it can go badly because that's what happens in real life. But I also like games where the dilemmas presented don't really affect the story, they just affect how you perceive things. Because there's no good ending. It's just you actually get to do what you want. Because so often we have these games where people will say, okay, well, what's the best choice? What am I supposed to do here? And I don't like that. I don't like that we have games that say, okay, just give me the best choice. I want the best ending. No, play how you want to play and deal with the consequences.
Right.
Like there's one moment in Infamous 1 where Kessler kidnaps your love interest. And depending on how you've been dealing with her, she either loves you or hates you. And he gives you a choice. He says, look, I've strapped your love interest to a bomb at this end of town, and I've strapped 6 doctors to a bomb at this end of town. Who do you save? And no matter who you choose to save, she dies. If you choose to save her, then Kessler says, I knew you would do that, so I switched it with the doctor. If you choose to save the doctors, Kessler says, like the whole time you're going to the doctors and you can hear your love interest, in the back of your head, you're just like, Kessler said, you're doing the right thing. These people matter more to the good of society. This is the choice you have to make. And there's no way to come out on top. And I like that because it forces gamers to actually look at this and say, what would I do? And if your action doesn't get the result you want, that's life. That actually happens. So I'm all for that.
Yeah,
Cool.
it pretty much like you said, gives you all the moral choices to it. Even though there's one story to the game, it still gives you the moral choices as what would you as the player decide, without forcing it into the story.
Exactly.
As the best. This is the best choice for the story. Like another example would be with the Knights of the Old Republic series.
Yeah.
With Knights of the Old Republic 1, I don't know if this is spoilers anymore, but spoiler warning for Knights of the Old Republic anyway. For Knights of the Old Republic 1, you're playing as a fallen Sith Lord through the entire game. You don't find out until partway through, but the choices you make determine if you, as the Dark Lord Revan, went either back to the dark side, like the Jedi Council suspected, or if you turned to good because of what the Jedi Council did. And then when KOTOR 2 comes around, you have this opening questionnaire with Atten, where he asks you questions about what happened in your KOTOR 1 playthrough. And that determines what route you go. It doesn't read your save, those questions determine, okay, so Revan was a Sith Lord by the end of the game, and things all went to, hell in a handbasket because of that. And then the Old Republic came around, and then the Old Republic said, you know what? Forget all of this. We're going to go with our established story. Revan was a good guy. The Exile went after Revan at the end of KOTOR 2. Good guy ending, or light side endings all around. We're going to go with our established story. So, in essence, KOTOR did both.
Yeah.
They made it that your choices affected from one game to the next, KOTOR 1 and 2, but then when the Old Republic came around for the MMO, they decided to scrap that and go with an established story of Revan being light side, Revan having gone with Bastila, and then your Jedi exile from KOTOR 2, after the adventures of KOTOR 2, goes after Revan into I forgot the term they used. But let's just say the far reaches of space, because I forgot the term that they used to describe that specific region.
The Outer Rim?
It might have been. It might have been the Outer Rim. But BioWare explored both opportunities to, mess with that in KOTOR and in Mass Effect in its own way.
Right, well, for the MMO, they kind of had to lock themselves in a specific canon. Because while possible from a technology standpoint to read everyone's individual save files and have the universe treat their interpretation of the universe differently based on their save file, that would have been a pain in the ass to actually build. While it would have been impressive, I don't think the novelty of it would have been worth the effort put into doing that.
Right.
So,
especially in, like you said, an MMO.
Yeah, because with an MMO specifically, you'd have to read each person's save file, have the universe react to the quest that they get while making them unable to participate in other quests because that person had a different save file. I'm just going through the use cases for it. While it would have been cool, the novelty would have worn off very quickly.
Yeah.
So, but enough of that. We've this is what we came here for. Nice next gen discussion, but time to get to the task at hand. Brass tacks. All those other cliches. Although I don't have Pokemon XY yet because I don't own a 3DS. And this might be the game that makes me buy a 3DS.
You don't have a 3DS?
No, I don't have a 3DS.
Why do you not have a 3DS?
Because I have a Vita, and that kind of takes... the only time I really play my Vita is when I'm on the road. That's the only time I've really been playing my handheld games lately. When I'm either on the road or flying, so I just bring my Vita. But now with Pokemon, I'm like, all right, I have to get Pokemon XY, and that might actually take over my console gaming for a while.
Now, do you have a preference, X or Y?
No, whichever one I walk past first. Actually, no. I take that back. Which one gives me the black Mega Charizard?
X.
That's the one I want. That one. Right there.
Decision made.
Decision made.
Yep.
So
just look for that one with the really cool deer thing with the.
Oh, that's right. I
what
get
look
the
like swords. Yeah,
I get Electric Bambi Mom.
See, since you call it the Electric Bambi Mom, I just refer to it as the Dear God from Princess Mononoke.
I like yours better.
That's why I like the deer as the legendary in Pokemon X.
Because it's an actual god.
Right, because I saw it and my first thought was Mononoke Hime. And I looked, I was like, wow, okay, you know what? Pokemon X that legendary looks great. And I'm seeing everyone kind of steer away from Pokemon X either because of the legendary and stuff like that on different forums. And I just look and go, but it's the deer god.
Exactly. So, all right, that's what I'm going for. Dear God and Black Mega Charizard. I'm sold. I know you said you just got it today, but Michelle, you've actually had it for a couple weeks now?
Yeah, I got it on release day.
Nice. All right, so how is it? Give us your impressions on the game. Break down XY for everyone out there.
Well, to be fair, I think nearly everyone else has already got it by now, but I'd have to say it probably is the best Pokemon gen since Gold and Silver, which is saying a lot considering I sort of loved that game. So I had Silver, so yeah, but it's definitely the best gen because they put in. Basically, the concept is still sort of the same. You know, you're a Pokemon trainer, you're going around, you know, collecting badges, catching Pokemon, all this stuff, but they've added so many sort of little sort of extra things in it, and I have to say it looks absolutely gorgeous in 3D. Like there's so much more detail in the sort of the backgrounds, and but you can only really see like the 3D effects, like if you're doing like trading or evolving or in the battle scenes, but it does look really good in 3D.
Now, which one did you go for?
Why?
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 Because I asked you.
So was there a preference when you went for Y, or it was...
She likes red.
It's just because, well, the other half has got X, so I thought, you know, I might as well get Y. We can trade.
Fair enough.
See, I just pulled up the charts. Over here in the UK, I don't know what it is like for in America, but over here in the UK, X was the highest seller.
Alright.
Interesting.
Oh, it'll be for Mega Charizard X, that's why.
There we go.
Oh boy.
The world understands. Now, that brings up my next question. How do the Mega Evolutions actually work? Like, what triggers them? What are the benefits? What is a Mega Evolution?
Well, basically, it's at a certain point in the story, you get an item called a Mega Ring. And basically, if you have a Pokemon that holds a specific item to them, you can actually evolve them in battle. Like, obviously, Charizard, Blastoise, Blaziken, Mewtwo. You can evolve them in battle. I don't think it actually really does much apart from maybe booster stats and yeah, I think that's about it. Because it only works in battle. You can't sort of keep them permanently evolved.
Okay, that was actually gonna be my next question. So these Mega Evolutions aren't permanent.
No, it's just in battle. Like on the screen you'll have the 4 attacks that you can do, and right underneath there's an option to Mega Evolve them. And they'll stay evolved throughout the whole battle, like even if you switched them in and out. but not if after battle.
Wait, so this is like going Super Saiyan, right?
I was actually
Yeah,
just
pretty
about
much.
to say, at the risk of angering the Pokemon fan base, this is kind of like Digivolution then, because it's not permanent.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's actually kind of, alright, that's kind of cool. And then I'm guessing your Mega moves either pack more of a punch or they have passives on them.
Yeah, I think they're boosted.
Okay.
I'm not too sure because I only got the Mega Evolutions today, so.
Oh,
she
nice.
She got a Mega Magikarp.
Haha.
Please tell me there's a Mega Magikarp. Please.
No, but from what I do know, there is a Mega Gyarados. That I can confirm.
Alright, did they finally fix Gyarados' glaring weakness? Because that thing was just a lightning rod.
Michelle, you got any info on that?
I have no idea. I haven't actually caught a Magikarp yet, so.
Because I remember going through the earlier gens, Gyarados, for as intimidating as it looked, water and flying kind of make it a lightning rod.
Yeah, I can kind of understand from Gen 1 onward to like Gen 3 why it was water flying. Because if it was water dragon, it would only have one weakness. That would be the dragon type moves, and dragon type moves were extremely scarce early on.
But they gave... Oh, what's the final gym leader in Gold and Silver? They gave Cynthia Kingdra, which is water and dragon.
Cynthia is
Cynthia.
Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, I think.
No, okay. Who's the dragon trainer from Gold Silver?
It's Claire.
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 Yes.
Kingdra is water and dragon, and it has the same problem.
Yeah, ever since they introduced Kingdra, they should have just retyped Gyarados. They retyped Magnemite, they retyped Magneton, they gave other Pokemon retypings that we'll get into later. But I still don't know why they didn't retype Gyarados. Especially now that the whole Water Dragon thing is a null issue.
Right.
I mean, I
Now-
know there are some Pokemon that change types when they Mega Evolve. I'm pretty sure Mega Charizard X is Dragon Fire type, I believe.
Yes, that I've heard.
And was it one of the Mewtwo's becomes a fighting psychic type?
So all of the Frieza jokes we were making are valid then.
Yes.
So I'm sorry, I don't know which Mega Mewtwo it was, but the one that looks like Frieza. Or no, I'm sorry, it doesn't look like Frieza, it looks more like Boo, because it has the tail coming off of its head.
Yeah, that's Mega Mewtwo Y.
Okay.
Which was the same question I asked when I saw that Mewtwo. Why?
I like the design, because it makes me think of Boo.
I'm not fond of... I don't like that design, honestly. I still feel Mega Mewtwo was unnecessary.
No, because if you're gonna go all out, you may as well give one of the most... I don't know how it is in the game now, but in the universe of Pokemon, you may as well give the most overpowered being in that universe a Mega Form. Because
It's
why?
still one of the most overpowered beings in the Pokemon game. They just gave it a Mega Form to make it more overpowered. They gave it a Mega Form because Arceus exists.
Fair enough.
I did a quick check on Mega Gyarados to bring it back to that beast. Mega Gyarados, from what I am seeing type-wise, is Water, Dark.
That's interesting.
Water Dark? That's kind of random.
I know. It's weird, but it's
really
Water Dark.
interesting.
I'm seeing it on... I've seen it on a few forums, and I'm seeing it on Cerebi.net that it's Water Dark. So that's actually interesting.
Very.
I'm surprised they didn't make it Dragon, quite frankly, but because it's in the Dragon Egg group,
It is.
and it's not a Dragon Pokemon. Okay.
So, alright. Now, as far as the I guess, the story of XY. I know Heart Gold, Soul Silver sort of had a loose story involving the resurrection of Team Rocket and then going back to the Kanto region. Is there anything like that in XY?
I haven't really hit on much of a story yet, just sort of like little snippets and stuff, like with the new sort of bad team showing up.
The totally not Team Rocket.
Oh, it's Team Flare now, and they have like the snazziest red suits you'll ever see, ever.
Nice.
So does that mean at Comic-Con next weekend we're going to be seeing a lot of these?
Possibly. It wouldn't surprise me. But I have to say, the music for Team Flare is actually pretty awesome. I really like it, to be honest.
Okay.
And Pokemon always had some catchy tunes.
Now, at what point in this podcast do I say I've never played Pokemon?
Get out.
That would be now.
Have you never played Pokemon? I am in awe.
Write it. Speak up for yourself.
No, I'm serious.
I'm just
not even on a judgment thing. Just how have you never played Pokemon?
I just never had an interest in it.
Does not compute.
But it's Pokemon. What?
But the Pikachu.
No, I can get on. I can get on with seeing these. Seeing it on the social media and everything else. And I've seen bits of the anime. I've not probably watched it.
I will say the next thing I'm going to binge on is the Pokemon Origins anime. Ash is gone. No more Ash. It's only Red. Red is the only trainer I respect.
I saw bits of the Pokemon Origins anime. I saw how it looked, and I saw the storyline setup and everything. It really does look pretty cool how they handled it.
So,
If a little short-handed, because they skipped a lot of things, for obvious reasons, because I think it's a 4-episode OVA.
right.
But for what it was, I liked how they handled it.
Nice. I remember just reading the Pokemon Special manga. I was like, "What is this? This kid is way better than Ash. What am I doing watching this? Get this trash off my TV." So,
Man, Ash gets by not evolving his Pikachu. You try that in any of the main games.
they used to irritate me. I'm sitting there like, if this Godchew isn't hats on 1,000, because there's one moment like Pikachu's flying on a bird, and then he thunderbolts the bird, but uses the bird as a conduit to electrocute whatever's below him. I was like, what is no, get this trash off my TV.
Remember, attack the horn with Thunderbolt.
But it's
Yeah.
ground.
Attack the steel horn with Thunderbolt. Ignore that it's ground rock and it shouldn't do a single thing.
That should mildly tickle him, like, huh?
Yeah, and then all of a sudden it defeats Rhydon. Although I did find two things funny regarding Ash's Pikachu. Two things that later would get referenced in the main game. There would later be a move called, I think, Drench, which soaks the opponent's Pokemon that turns them into a water type, which is what Ash did way back in Gen 1 to Onix to beat Rock. And now that's an actual move in, I believe, introduced in Gen 5, Gen 6. That actually happens now as an effect. So there's that. Then there's an ability called Lightning Rod that Rhydon had since Gen 3, where it attracts all electrical attacks toward Rhydon in double battles. Now, the only problem with that is they incorporated the effect Rhydon had in the anime, but they didn't incorporate the effect the attack had on Rhydon. Because Rhydon has Thunder Rod, but it's also Ground Rock, so the electric attacks don't do a single thing to it.
Welp.
So, Thunder Rod on Rhydon makes electric Pokemon completely worthless in a team battle against it.
So Rhydon could be the tank he was meant to be.
Right.
While we're on the types subject, they actually gave dragon Pokemon a proper foe, not just other dragons. Fairy types were introduced.
Oh my god.
Uh-oh. Alright, hold on. First, I want to hear what Michelle thinks about the fairy types, and then we can go into what your impressions on them.
It's funny you should mention that because at the moment I'm in the fairy type gym.
There's a fairy Alright. So,
Gotta give them type representation.
So what are what is the advantages of having a fairy type other than dragon slaying? Which, hold on, before we go into this, fairies slay dragons. Fairies slay dragons. If you read Fairy Tail, you should be laughing your ass off right now. Fairies slay dragons.
Sounds legit.
That's the first thing I thought of. Fairy type slay dragons. I was like, yep, Natsu, we can dig it. I can dig it.
Oh, man.
So, other than dragon slaying, what other advantages do fairy types have?
I'm not sure. I don't actually have any fairy types on my team, but I think they're strong against bug and fighting types. I think.
Okay.
Let me see. I have the type chart here.
If let's go to Cerebi.net.
I'm on Bulbapedia. They have their type chart and everything.
Bulbapedia.
Yes, the wiki for Pokemon, Bulbapedia. It's a pretty actually large wiki. But let's see. Fairy types have a double strength bonus against fighting, dragon, and dark. And defensively, fighting, bug, and dark moves do half damage. They are weak against poison and steel, so poison and steel moves will do double damage. And fairy type Pokemon do half damage against fire, poison, and steel. They have a complete immunity to dragon types.
What?
So they completely shut down dragon.
What?
They do double damage, and dragon type moves do nothing to a fairy type Pokemon.
Hang on, you, Justin, you were saying you wanted that Mega Charizard thing.
Oh, so basically, if I get the Mega Charizard, Jigglypuff will eat me.
Well,
Death
you can
by fairy.
Well,
Yes.
actually no, because if you don't Mega Evolve it
Oh,
and just have it as a fire type,
But the Mega.
you can evolve Mega Charizard another time.
Fair enough. So I have the list of...
That option though would just taunt you the whole battle.
Because I'll be like, I want to do it. I want to nuke it so bad. Wait. No! Out comes Jigglypuff. That's actually the first meme I saw when this was announced. It showed Jigglypuff from Smash Brothers, and it was like, useless they called me.
I saw one picture when the fairy types were first introduced. Of you see a Dragonite, a Salamence, a Garchomp, a Rayquaza, all these different Pokemon like laid on top of each other, and right on top of all of them with a little spotlight on it, the new EV Evolution Sylveon.
Nice.
Just standing on top with this smile on its face, and all you see is carnage from all the dragon types it just slayed. And it's just standing on top of their bodies with this smile and a spotlight.
So I have the list of all the fairy types everything has been retyped to fairy.
Yeah.
Clefairy, Clefable, Jigglypuff, Wigglytuff, Mr. Mime, so that's now Psychic and Fairy. I have to imagine that is a hellish combination to deal with. The baby forms of Clefairy and Jigglypuff, Togepi, Togetic, Meryl. Did not see that one coming. Meryl is a fairy.
Yeah, Meryl's a weird one to me that they retyped.
Snubbull and Granbull are fairies now.
That's even weirder.
Well, wasn't it Snubbull was classified as the fairy Pokemon?
Ooh, was it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
You're correct. Oh wow, I
3
completely
points to
overlooked-
Michelle.
Ballin'. And then the legendary from X, Xerneas, is a fairy.
Yes.
I can steel and fairy. That has to also be a hellish combination.
There's also the Ralts evolution tree is now fairy type.
Yes.
It's now psychic fairy. And Mawile is steel fairy.
Alright, so that's got to add a nice little wrinkle to the metagame.
Yeah.
Alright, so I gotta know. You're at the fairy gym. What's your strategy going in there? How are you going to deal with this?
Considering my strongest Pokemon, one of my strongest Pokemon at the moment is Lucario, and it's a fighting type.
She doesn't stand a chance.
Uh-huh.
Well, I'm just hoping to exploit any sort of dual type weaknesses.
Yeah. Well, no, because you said fighting, or fairy is weak against fighting. Or is it the other way around?
No, it's the other way. It's the, No, fairies are strong against fighting.
Oh.
Fairies are strong against fighting, dragon, and dark.
Well then.
You're screwed.
And fighting type moves do half damage.
Alright, yeah, I'm looking at what that gym leader has. You're gonna need an exploit.
One Pokemon I am surprised they did not retype is Chansey.
They did not retype Chansey.
I would have thought Chansey would have been retyped. You know, for it being the Pokemon that's always obviously next to Nurse Joy at the Pokemon centers. But I would have thought Chansey, for its look, its design, and its, you could say, its utility in the series, I thought it would have been retyped as a fairy type, and it's not. So I'm actually kind of surprised by that. That said, I am also happy that Togepi got retyped.
Yeah.
I'm probably one of the few people who use the Togepi in Gen 2.
Really?
Yes. I used Togepi, I evolved it to Togetic, and I used it in my main team back when I played Pokemon Silver in like year 2000, 2001.
But why?
Because I wanted to actually try it. I wanted to use the Togepi, and instead of it being, you know, hey, we got a Togepi, let's throw it in the box. I wanted to actually use the Togepi for once.
Well, fair enough. Alright, I'm just looking at screenshots of this game. Oh, this looks beautiful.
Yes, it really does. No more sprite work, all 3D animation.
Yes.
The sprites were all good too, don't get me wrong, but it's nice to see it in cel-shaded 3D animation.
Yes. And that's what it is. It's the cell. It looks like they took the Dragon Quest 9 or Dragon Quest 10 artwork style.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it.
So.
But yeah, the fairy type Pokemon as a whole really kind of throw a wrench in the whole, you could say, metagame, so to speak.
But it does it in a way that doesn't break the game. Like, it's not like everyone's saying, oh, let me flock to the fairy types. They gave them obvious weaknesses. Because in Gen 1, Dragonair was un-F-wittable. There was really no, beyond completing your Pokedex, you have no motivation of evolving your Dragonair.
This is actually pretty true. Because in Gen... I have a love-hate thing with Dragonair and the evolution. Because Dragonair I thought was one of the coolest dragon types. And then when I evolve it to Dragonite, it
gets double ice weakness.
It not only gets double ice weakness, so anything with an ice beam is just, yeah, you're dead. Back then, I was a fan of Dragonite's design. Now, it's Barney, it's Barney mixed with a giant dragon.
What?
Barney.
That's the best thing I could come up with. Dragonite just looks it looks like, the friendly dragon.
There we go. That's what we're calling this episode. Dragonite the Friendly Dragon. So you're laughing. I have my heart gold fired up right now. I'm about to rename my Dragonite Friendly Dragon.
You're just going to rename it Friendly Dragon? That's not going to fit, is it?
If I take out vowels, it will.
Oh my goodness.
His name is a license plate now. See, I always wondered, if I give them crappy names, will they revolt against me? Because I know happiness is a huge thing that they started to introduce. Will they hate me if they hate their name?
No, I don't think Pokemon
No.
respond to the name like that, do they?
No.
Okay.
Puff the Magic Dragon, that was it.
Hmm?
That was the reference I utterly failed at making.
What?
Puff the Magic Dragon.
How did we miss that one?
I was going for it, and then I just went Barney for some reason, because Dragon's smiling face reminded me of Barney for whatever reason.
It's so friendly.
And then I was like, wait a minute, what's that other dragon? Huh.
So, I know Michelle said this one is. Do you say it was the best or your favorite or both?
Probably both.
All right. So in terms of just ranking, you said this is the best. What comes after that for you? What is your next in terms of the Pokemon hierarchy of games? Not just handheld. We'll include console as well. What comes next to you?
Probably second gen, gold, silver.
The re-release or just gold, silver?
No, just the originals.
Okay. Why the originals?
I've such nostalgia for them. It was like because my first Pokemon game was actually Yellow,
Okay.
but then sort of Gold and Silver is where I really sort of got into it, and I remember getting a copy of the game with like the little Pokemon Game Boy Color that had like
Yes.
Pikachu and Pichu on it.
All right. Lawrence. No.
Yes.
We'll do a top 3 because top 2 is kind of weird. So after gold, silver, Michelle, what would come next for you?
I would say probably either the first gen or possibly black and white. Not sure. Sort of tied between the two, to be honest.
All right. Lawrence, what would your top 3 be?
Not counting X and Y, because I haven't spent much, and by much I mean pretty much no time on X and Y right now. I would have to say my favorite would also go to Gen 2. Not counting X and Y.
Okay.
After that, I would have to say Gen 1. Especially the Fire Red Leaf Green remakes.
Okay, fair enough. Now, I never played the remakes. What makes the remakes different from the original Red Blue?
Well, for one, obviously they added all the things that Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald had added by that point, so they threw that type of thing into the game. They added in stuff like the Versus Seeker and all the advancements like the bags and the bag slots and everything. The different types of Pokeballs obviously were added into the Fire Red and Leaf Green. So basically all the advancements that were made since Red and Blue were added into Red and Blue between the graphics, the bag slots, obviously the Pokedex got updated to include the new Pokemon as well. Now there's a full post game after you beat the original Battle of the Elite Four, whereas in the previous Red and Blue, if you beat the Elite Four, the only thing left was to capture Mewtwo and your game was done, basically.
Right.
Now you beat the Elite Four once, you beat the champion once, and then it opens up these new islands that pop up across the map that you can travel to. These new islands also have Pokemon that were from Gen 2 and Gen 3, because they didn't change, obviously, any of the Pokemon captures from the old Red and Blue. So these islands give you access to the Gen 2, Gen 3 Pokemon. Then there's the legendary hunting, because now instead of it just being Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres, they added Raikou, Entei, and Suicune as well. So those are now popping up on the map. The Mewtwo quest is still active, so you can go now to the Cerulean Cave and capture Mewtwo again. And then they give you a quest to beat the Elite Four in a rematch. At which point the Elite Four and the champion all have updated Pokemon, Gen 2 and Gen 3 era Pokemon. Their Pokemon have evolved, and their levels are at least 10 levels higher than what they were the first time. So really, I would say the main difference is not only do they add all the updates, but there's now a more expansive post-game after you've beaten Fire Red and Leaf Green than there was back at Red, Blue, and Yellow.
Nice.
I would say that's the main advantage, because after you beat the Elite Four, then you get the National Pokedex, and then all these other Pokemon start opening up, and then you can capture Gen 2, Gen 3 era Pokemon. And then, like I said, then you have to go back, beat the Elite Four, and you go along from there. So I think that's probably like the main difference between the originals and the remakes. Because obviously more gameplay in a Pokemon game is never a bad thing.
Okay. Everything you said about the post game is why I put Heart Gold, Soul Silver at the top of mine. Because of just everything they included. They do beyond just going back to Kanto and beating the old gym leaders. They give you the Battle Frontier. They give you can make your own Safari Zone. They give you can rematch the gym leaders you've already beaten by earning their phone numbers. You can rematch the Elite Four. There's the breeding. There's actual contests where you have the races, and I think they have a beauty contest as well.
I think the beauty contest may have been Gen 3 exclusive. I'm not sure.
There are contests within Heart Gold, Soul Silver that are beyond just the no, that's what it is. It's the triathlon. That's what you can do in Heart Gold, Soul Silver.
Okay.
Triathlon. And there's just so much there to do. Once you've essentially beaten the game, you can be the kind of master you want to be. Do you want your own Safari Zone? Do you want to be your own Frontier Brain? Do you want to just have these athletic Pokemon to just do this? There's a lot to do there. So that's why I'll put that at the top of my list. And then, as a surprise, I'm actually going to put Pokemon Stadium at number 2. Just because that was the first time I saw Pokemon on the screen in 3D, not counting Snap. And it just looked great. It played well. And I like how you couldn't just go in there with overpowered stuff. They actually introduced the concept of scaling. So whatever you brought in, the game would scale to what you had to. You actually had to think on your feet and be clever with your moves and not just hit it with your best move and wipe everything out.
Right. And also in some of the Pokemon Stadium tournaments, they added either level restrictions or total restrictions. So you couldn't go in with a team of, like, if the Pokemon, I believe the Poke Cup it was levels 50 through 55. So you would think, oh, I can go in with a team of all level 55s and be kind of covered. Well, the game introduces the total level restriction, where I believe it has to be around 154, something like that, or 160, right, where you couldn't bring in all level 55s for your team battles.
Yeah, that's a nice wrinkle that they added.
Right. So it added a little bit more, you could say, replayability with Pokemon Stadium with the tournaments, which is also brings me to a thing for the Nintendo Pokemon games. Now that you brought up Pokemon Stadium, one thing that I wish Nintendo would have gone back to, and they don't get enough credit for, the transfer pack system.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved the idea behind the transfer pack. I actually still have a transfer pack just sitting around in my room. I still have my N64 Pokemon games. Come on.
Valid.
I still have Stadium 1 and 2. I have Pokemon Snap. And, confession time, I have Hey You Pikachu. So...
No.
What no? What no?
No, we're not letting this slide. You have what now?
I have Hey You Pikachu. What is so wrong with Hey You Pikachu?
It's like... Damn, I actually can't find anything wrong with it. It's essentially Nintendogs with a Pikachu. And I'm like, you know what? It's probably not that bad.
I was actually just going to question, what is Hey You Pikachu?
It's basically a game where you're just pretty much this kid. You're not even a Pokemon trainer. You're just this kid living in the Pokemon world, and a Pikachu comes up to your door. And from there, you
like they do.
Like they do. And you pretty much take the Pikachu in as a pet. And what made Hey You Pikachu kind of innovative for its time was it came with a microphone set that you plugged into the fourth controller set. So what would happen is you would hold the Z button on your N64 controller, and you'd be able to speak to your Pikachu. and give it commands and tell it, what to do. Like if something fell on the floor, you tell it to pick it up, and it could register the names of the items and your voice and the commands and everything, and it would respond to what you're saying. Like if you shouted at the Pikachu, you would see like a thought bubble in the Pikachu's head, kind of like a squiggly lines, and you knew the Pikachu was getting upset with you. If you praised the Pikachu, then the Pikachu would actually respond in kind, and actually you see like hearts float over its head, and it actually responded to the praise you were giving it. It would respond to the commands you would give it. So if you told it to do Thunderbolt, it would do a Thunderbolt right there. If you told it to do Thundershock, it would do a Thundershock. If you told it to just do Thunder, there was this big giant explosion of thunder. It was pretty much like Justin said, it was like Nintendogs, but with a Pikachu. But picture that 10 years before Nintendogs on a Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
Pretty much your whole goal was to kind of raise this Pikachu as kind of like a pet. Like you took it around different parts of the island and met other Pokemon, made friends, this and that, and that was pretty much the whole thing of Hey You Pikachu. Like even after you beat the game, you didn't beat the game.
Right.
Because after the game kind of continued for you to kind of just play with the Pikachu.
Forever.
Right, just keep doing your thing from there. So for its time, I would say Hey You Pikachu was pretty fun for what it was. Now you can point out the flaws that it's not as responsive as it should be and this and that, but that's 10 years later when things obviously got more responsive and technology advanced.
I was like, right, Hey You Pikachu came out 2002?
Ooh, I'd have to check. I think it had to have been earlier than that.
No, it might have
2002, is it?
I think
2002 would have been PlayStation 2 era.
Oh, so yeah, it was way before that.
it was early. It came out in 1998 in Japan, year 2000 in America.
That thing's almost 20 years old. Or it's almost
God.
15 years old.
15. Yeah.
That's insanity.
But yes, I play Hey You Pikachu and I'm proud of it, damn it.
How far we have come from 8-bit Charizard and Blastoise to fully rendered shell-shaded 3D Dear God from Princess Mononoke.
Pretty much. Well, Pokemon's come a very long way from the sprite-based graphics.
Yeah, it's. I don't know how I want to put this. I'm almost shocked that it doesn't get the sort of recognition over here as it does for being one of Nintendo's flagship franchises.
Right.
I don't know if that's because it's a handheld, mostly franchise or what, but the longevity of the franchise is up there with Mega Man. It's up there with Mario. It's up there with Sonic.
To me, Pokemon is the shining example of Nintendo's innovation in the gaming world. And that's in my opinion. You had the concept of capturing the monsters and these little Pokeballs and
Right.
going from there. You had the types and everything. That was basic RPG stuff. But then as time went on, they started doing things like using the Game Boy printer to print out, logos and stamps of your Pokemon
God,
back in
I remember
Pokemon.
the Game Boy printer.
They found ways to incorporate even the most obscure of their products into Pokemon.
I almost completely forgot that the Game Boy had a printer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it had this mini printer, yeah.
It used to cost a fortune to refill.
I never got it. I never got it. That was probably one of the reasons. I just looked at it like, not my thing.
It was good, but as soon as you had to refill, I think I only ever got refilled once because it was so expensive.
Yeah. But they had bits where they used the Game Boy printer. Then they had the e-reader in the 3rd gen, where they had these Pokemon cards, which I still have, by the way, where they had like these little barcodes at the bottom, where you swiped them through the e-reader and, different things would happen as a result, like different effects that would happen on your Game Boy Advance itself, or different things in your Pokemon game would happen. In one case, they fixed a glitch that was in Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald with the berries. That was fixed by either the e-reader or another method that they used to fix it. The link cables for the Game Boy and Game Boy Color. That was used for other games. That was pretty much primarily a Pokemon thing. For you to be able to trade Pokemon between players and using that to do trade evolutions and different things like that, and trade between versions, where Pokemon, I believe, Red would have like Caterpie and Pokemon Blue would have Weedle. And then, you could trade between the two versions and complete your Pokedex that way. The transfer pack for Pokemon Stadium 2. Pokemon Stadium 2, you could say, is the birth of on-disc DLC in its execution.
Yeah.
And I say this because of Pokemon Crystal. If you had a transfer pack and you put in Pokemon Crystal in Pokemon Stadium 2 Red, Pokemon Crystal, and the game updated to include all of Pokemon Crystal's information despite being released with Gold and Silver only.
Right.
So it was like the start of the idea of making something on the game that can be unlocked later for, through another purchase of some kind. Although it was done in a much different way than it is now, but it was a good way that they went about innovating that. What else did they wind up doing? There was Pokemon Snap with the printers. They had printers around different blockbusters that if you took your Pokemon Snap game to those printers, you actually printed out your pictures from Pokemon Snap. And now with the Wii, I believe if you connected it to like an actual printer, you could actually print out your pictures through that way, through the virtual channel version of Pokemon Snap. They made the wireless adapter for Pokemon, which acted like a link cable, but it was wireless. They made that for Fire Red and Leaf Green. They did so many things to innovate, and almost all of it was through Pokemon. I mean, obviously Nintendo had their things outside of Pokemon, but a lot of the things they did to innovate and to bring across, the next step between going from the link cables to wireless adapters to the Nintendo DS was through Pokemon. The transfer pack that enabled you to take your handheld game and even play it on the big screen.
Yeah.
With the Game Boy Tower, that was through Pokemon. Because of Pokemon, you were able to take your Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow, Gold, Silver, Crystal, play it on your N64 game, and it would play on your big screen. That would later make way for the Game Boy player on the GameCube. And that completely took the portable game and put it on the big screen if you wanted to play it there. Again, a lot of the things they did to innovate and move the industry forward was through Pokemon. Either indirectly or directly through, packaging and marketing and things of that nature.
Well done.
I was like,
No, I'm just sitting here in awe of just all the innovation Nintendo was able to accomplish through this franchise, and it's just sort of, I don't know. Like I said, it's jarring that it doesn't get the same sort of recognition as a Mario or a Sonic over here.
I don't know, because from what I've seen, people have been buying 3DSs for Pokemon this time round.
Right. I think Pokemon is starting to hit that point now.
And if you look in the UK, although GTA sales were really high, because Pokemon X and Y was split,
right.
They combined, they actually would have been the #1 seller for the week in the UK, despite having a day short for what everything else had.
Right. And what is that buzzing noise?
Neither do I. I don't hear a buzzing noise.
Oh, that was weird. I heard like a strange buzzing noise
Stopped.
there. Yeah, it stopped. But to bring it back to that, even in Japan, the game released, obviously we know, on a Friday.
Yep.
So they have their weekly sales figures. Pokemon, having released on Friday and having only 2 days to catch this on that week, sold 1.8 million copies in Japan alone.
God dang.
That is the power of Pokemon in Japan. Monster Hunter sold pretty much just as well, but Monster Hunter is a mega phenomenon in Japan.
Right.
Pokemon
Monster Hunter
is
just huge.
Yeah, exactly. And Pokemon is right up there with it. In 2 days, you could argue, since it's a weekly sales figure count. In about 2 days, they sold 1.8 million in just Japan. And who's to say in America and in Europe, where you had all these places filled, with the midnight launches for Pokemon X and Y, we could easily say that Pokemon should be held in the same esteem as a Mario and a Sonic and things like that. But the unfortunate thing is we don't hear that. We hear, oh, Mario is this and Sonic is that and Mega Man is this, but we don't hear it about Pokemon, which is kind of weird. I mean, the closest thing you could say is that it doesn't have a mascot, but Pikachu has kind of become the mascot since Gen 1.
It does have a mascot. Pikachu. Pikachu's sort of the mascot of the anime.
I think if you just went to anyone and showed them a Pikachu, they would automatically think Pokemon, and that would be the iconic character.
Right. That's pretty much the Pokemon that people would associate with the series.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then there's also the way Nintendo handles the marketing for Pokemon. I mean, they started doing different, obviously, things with Pokemon. They started going into the trading card game business with Pokemon. They went into Pokemon, pinball and stuff like that. And then they did stuff like Pokemon Puzzle League. And Pokemon Puzzle League was a very addictive game. It probably remains one of my favorite N64 titles, just for how addictive it was.
Yeah, it was Candy Crush and Bejeweled before it. I guess you could say it sort of fathered the puzzle gaming genre.
In regards to cross marketing, I would say yeah. In regards to that, and also on consoles, they kind of gave that little push. But overall, the way they handled the marketing with Pokemon has always been superb in that regard. I mean, the only flaw that in marketing that people could ever levy at Pokemon is only in the case of, if you truly believe that Pokemon is this, demonic entity and all of that some people apparently do believe, but that's not Nintendo's fault.
There will always be a crazy minority.
Right. Between that and the PETA parody games.
Okay, that PETA parody of Pokemon was comedic gold.
I know.
Like, if for what PETA is, it's clear that they didn't do their research on Pokemon. Because, like, one of the central themes of the anime, and now it's making its way into the game through the friendship mechanic, is these are not tools. These are your friends. You treat them as friends.
Right. That's pretty much how it was. I mean, Gen 1... Obviously, Gen 1 didn't have a friendship mechanic until Pikachu itself came about with Pokemon Yellow.
Right.
But through later games, they kept advancing on the friendship mechanic, adding more things to change the friendship mechanic. And now in Pokemon X and Y, I believe one of the changes they added to the friendship mechanic is you can actually interact with your Pokemon, right, Michelle?
Yeah, it's like they have the Pokemon Ami system. It's like you interact with your Pokemon, you can give them food and play games with them. As the affection goes up, you get stuff like boost in XP. Sometimes your Pokemon will heal themselves with status effects, or if they're about to be KO'd, they won't actually be KO'd. So it's actually, it pays to be nice to your Pokemon.
Wow, that's actually pretty cool. I didn't know it went that deep with the new system. I knew you could interact. I didn't know that they actually updated the friendship system that much.
So literally, your Pokemon can be kept alive by the power of friendship.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's not guaranteed, but there's more of a higher chance that they'll survive. They'll fight for you.
Heroic willpower takes the next step.
And it's like, at the moment, my team are all level, I think it's like 3 out of 5. And it's like, at the moment, you get, like, I'm getting messages coming up saying, oh, your Pokemon is remembering the first time it met you, or your Pokemon is waiting for your orders, and it's like little things like that make it quite sort of interesting to see.
Your Pokemon remembers the first time you beat the crap out of it and captured it.
Wow.
No, but no, that jokes aside, that actually sounds like a really interesting system.
Yeah, it really does.
So, again, a case of not doing the research on Peter's part. Um, I think this is a good spot to leave it, because we did cover sort of a lot with Pokemon in terms of its legacy, the innovation from it, the new games, the old games, and I don't know. I think we did. I think we had a good show today.
Yeah, I think that just about wraps it up. Unless we wanted to cover the whole metagame with the EVs and IVs, but that's kind of the part of Pokemon that, yeah.
I've never understood that because I guess I've never been that competitive of a Pokemon player. I never understood EV training.
See, neither have I, but I've also heard that Pokemon X and Y make it easier, and they have a mini game in X and Y that actually enables you.
Yes, they do. It's like you can go straight into the mini game. It's like you do like little bonus games, and you can get like really good boosts on your stats, and you can even find like items that can boost your stats as well, like an insane amount. It's like basically what happens is you get like little punching bags, and you basically tap the stylus on the touchscreen really quickly, and that'll boost. I think if you get a large punching bag, it can boost your Pokemon stat up to 12.
Wow.
So you actually have to hit the weight room with your Pokemon. That's actually pretty cool.
It ties back into the Pokemon Ami system, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Interacting with them and playing games with them. That's pretty cool. See, all of this might convince me to jump on the Pokemon X and Y faster. This talk over, because this all sounds very, very cool with Pokemon X and Y.
You have it. I'm expecting live tweets. At least up until the first gym.
Oh, well, you put it that way now.
At least up until the first gym leader.
Okay, I understand in Pokemon, the very first thing you have to do is choose one.
Right. We never went over the starters.
If I was to start Pokemon, what is a good one to start with? What would you recommend?
Pokemon game?
No,
the starters.
Pokemon. Yeah, a starting Pokemon.
It actually depends on the gen.
Because the first
in the current gen, I mean, I guess I could probably skip.
Yeah.
Previous.
There's no like real continuity question mark.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only continuity is if you play. The only real continuity is Gen 1 to Gen 2.
Yeah, and even then it's loose.
Right.
Yeah, it's like even in XY you get mentions of like sort of like the other sort of locations for the past gens, but you don't sort of get anything too deep.
Okay.
Because the thing is, if I was to jump in, I would jump in now. So it would be current gen. So what would you suggest? What would your choices be?
I chose Fennekin, the fire type.
Yeah, I would ask you this question: do you like burning things? Do you like water, or do you like grass?
I don't think anyone likes grass, right?
Hey, Meganium was pretty cool.
I'm about to say,
Sceptile.
grass has its uses. Like a lot of I don't know how it is this gen, but in the past gens, a lot of the grass starters, their whole fighting style was drain and death by 1,000 cuts. Like status effects, lots of quick hitting damage, and draining the health out of you.
Yeah, Sceptile in Gen 3 was pretty good for that. Like, I think it learned the upgraded version of Razor Leaf called, I think, Leaf Blade.
Nice.
In Gen 3. So, yeah, Sceptile was also pretty good for that. The fire types showed... I would say, granted, fire types had all these fire fightings in the gens as well, but fire type starters had the most variety. I would say. Going from Charizard to Typhlosion to Blaziken to the gens 4, 5, and 6 starters.
I think setting things on fire would probably suit me.
Then I would say, then I think there's your answer. Because, it goes back to what I said earlier. I wouldn't pick a starter just because you think you'd have an easier time. Go with what you'd enjoy. Because I picked Charmander in the first generation. And the first 2 gym leaders are rock and water, which means I had a very hard time. And this is before they showed mercy and gave Charmander a steel move to counter Brock. It was a struggle, because at that point all you have is Charmander, Bugs, and possibly a Pikachu. Have fun fighting this gym that's strong against everything you own.
Well, I could have sworn you can catch a Mankey.
Yellow.
Yeah.
That was yellow. Okay. I couldn't remember which one it was. I thought that was either I thought that was either red, blue, or yellow.
They
I
introduced
forgot.
that in yellow.
Yeah.
We
But
had
you can catch
struggle
a-
on this end, son.
But you can catch a Nidoran that learned double kick.
And that's what I ended up doing. You get
Yeah.
the Nidoran, you get double kick. But by the time it learns it, there's a good chance it's not going to listen to you anymore.
Yeah, that was another interesting system in the early gens that later got revised. I believe in the early gens you couldn't train Pokemon up to a certain level until you had a certain badge. Like I believe the second gym badge was level 30, the fourth was level 50.
Oh no, they let you train them. They just don't listen to you anymore.
No, that's what I mean. That's what I meant. Sorry, you could train them, but there was this parameter of you train them up to this level, they won't listen to you. And
Wasn't it only trading Pokemon that worked for, or was it your own as well?
Oh no.
I think
trained my Charmander to level 30, made him a Charmeleon, and he was like, "Who are you? I don't respect you. Get out of my face."
yeah, they revised it to only be trading Pokemon, but in the very beginning, it was even Pokemon you trained that level restricted you. It was only in, I think, Gen 2 or 3 that they removed the training restriction and just said that now traded Pokemon are only affected by this restriction of them listening to you.
Okay.
Cool.
I believe that's how it worked on that one.
You kids have it easy. You don't know my struggle.
Man, I played Pokemon Red and Blue and I made the mistake of training a Blastoise to level 36 before Cerulean City.
Ooh, yeah, have fun with that.
Yeah, my Blastoise was like, water gun? Takes out its hydro cannons and blasts me with it. That was I can imagine that was my Blastoise back then.
Like water gun, but I have this cannon. Skadoosh.
Basically.
So it gets even better in XY because I think it's like right after the first gym, that's when you get the XP boost.
Oh.
Nice.
So have fun with your, traded Pokemon then. Still get XP boost plus, XP boost
XP
for
boosts.
being a traded Pokemon. So
So
Yeah.
they are encouraging and at the same time discouraging level grinding.
But having said that, the gym badges are actually quite generous with the sort of limit, because I think the first gym badge gives you up to level 30.
Hmm?
Oh wow, on the
So-
first gym?
That's not bad.
Yeah. Usually it was the second gym that gave you level 30. So that's actually pretty cool. Although worrisome at the same time, because it makes you wonder what's awaiting you that they gave you the level 30 restriction so soon.
Yeah, the one thing Pokemon doesn't get enough credit for, it's a hard game.
Yeah, quite a few people say that Pokemon is easy, which is why they do stuff like the Nuzlocke challenge. But depending on how you play it, Pokemon can also be pretty challenging at times.
Yeah.
But again, sometimes that problem can be solved by developing a little bit more.
Right.
I'm a no nut for developing in Pokemon. Like
Well-
I don't leave Lavender Tower until I'm level 60.
Yeah, that would be nice if I knew everyone would listen to me when I get out.
See, this is why Fire Red and Leaf Green were so good, because they took that restriction out. they did it for the trading Pokemon in the remakes as well.
Nice.
So, and the other thing for speaking of Pokemon that you get from outside sources, we didn't even cover the event Pokemon.
Oh yeah, the events, the mystery gifts.
Right, like for Pokemon X and Y, I believe this applies to all orders. They have a Torchic mystery gift going out that will come with the Torchic's Mega Stone. So you pretty much get a Torchic, which is the Gen 3 starter for fire types, and you get the Mega Stone for Blaziken when it finally evolves into it. So you can get a Mega Blaziken right then and there.
Oh nice.
And then they had all these other events in the past for like a shiny Suicune, an event for Jirachi, an event for Keldeo, the event for, I believe, Genesect, the event for Mewtwo, an event. They had all these different types of events through mystery gifts over the course of the last, I believe, gen of Pokemon, Black and White, Black 2, White 2, Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, and Heart Gold, Soul Silver even had these.
Yes.
So they had all those mystery gifts that they gave out. And in the past, what was the only way you can get them? In the past, you had to actually bring your Pokemon game to a store for an employee of Nintendo to install that Pokemon into your game.
Right.
I tried entering one of those competitions back when Nintendo Power was still going, and yeah, that didn't work. But they had like a contest for 151 subscribers to Nintendo Power to get a Mew put into their Pokemon Yellow. So they used like their magazines, they used their internet websites and all the marketing to get people, on board with these event Pokemon, to get Mew, to get Celebi, Jirachi, Deoxys, all these events, and now it's as simple as a mystery gift.
Yeah.
Although it does make me wonder with the event Pokemon. For how far do they go in regards to even balancing them? Because I know like their event Pokemon tend to obviously be, sometimes some of the lower level Pokemon like a Bulbasaur or stuff like that just for the coolness factor. But then you have Pokemon like Mew that can learn every TM. And then you also have like Arceus, which is the strongest Pokemon in existence right now.
That's a good question.
Because it makes me wonder if they just throw them in as like just these cool Pokemon that you can have, or is there actually a balance to them for the events?
Okay. Okay.
Is this thing on?
Hilarity. I think that is our cue. As always, I want to thank you guys for being here, and I want to thank everyone else for listening in. Yeah, this was fun. Let's do it again sometime. We'll be back in 2 weeks. We do the show bi-weekly. And, hope to...
Oh, 2 weeks, so me and Michelle should have... Michelle, you are going to MCM
Yep.
again. Yeah, so we should be done with MCM, so we'll probably have more MCM chat to go through.
There we go. We already have our next show planned out, the MCM recap.
Wicked.
All right. On that note, thanks you guys. Great having you, and we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Take care.
See ya.
Later, everybody.